Joining us now to discuss the company's mission is Angel Onuoha, who is the co-founder and CEO of BLK Capital Management. Such a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, you're also a current student at Harvard University. What year are you in?
So I'm actually a senior, but I'm taking a gap year this year to work on a startup.
Okay.
So I'm living on campus, but I'm not actually a student right now.
Amazing. All right, so let's dive into this. What inspired you to launch this organization?
Absolutely. So, racial wealth gap, primarily for African Americans, has always been something that I've been very passionate about. And particularly when I came to campus, I joined some of the early finance organizations because I knew I wanted to make some sort of change in that field. And one of the things that I noticed was that I was one of the only people of color in the entire room. I didn't think that African Americans were less interested in finance than anybody else. And so I asked a lot of my friends, why weren't you coming to these meetings? Amazing resources, great education programs. And one of the things that they told me was that a lot of them felt uncomfortable being one of the only people of color in the room, and then also felt behind because they didn't have any sort of experience before coming in. And so that's basically the genesis of BLK Capital Management, which is creating an environment where African American college students can come into this area, not have to know anything about finance, and then be able to learn, not only learn, but then also be surrounded with other people that look just like them and come from similar backgrounds.
Has it been easy or challenging to get your startup off the ground?
For BLK?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely say it was challenging at the beginning, and then it started to get a lot easier. I remember when we were first, so basically how we work is we partner with a lot of the large institutions on Wall Street, like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc. And so when we were looking for those first couple of partners, I remember calling maybe over 100 different companies, and a lot of them were like, come back to me when you have a little bit more progress, or, this sounds interesting, but come back to me in a year. And then when you get that first partner, then the rest of them start rolling in, and it starts getting a lot easier.
It's amazing. This summer, you're going to be joining Goldman Sachs in the investment banking division. Congrats on that.
That was 2 summers ago.
2 summers ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bravo.
Well, talk to us about that experience then. How was that? How did it shape the way that you approach your business now?
Yeah, so I worked at Goldman Sachs 2 summers ago, and then worked at Blackstone in the private equity group this past summer. I think that it was very helpful in order to see sort of what actually takes place in those firms, and to be able to see the diversity recruits and efforts that they're actually doing, which is amazing, and which is why we're so glad to be partnering with them. So this startup that I'm doing now is not anything related to finance. So it's kind of funny because I came into college thinking that I was going to go into finance, and now I'm doing completely something else. But one thing that stays true is that mission of being able to teach African American students the financial literacy skills that they can use to really go into any sort of industry and understand the importance of saving and investing.
So what's the investment philosophy? Is it like a long, short hedge fund, or how do you approach these investments?
Exactly. So we are a long, short hedge fund. We mostly focus on small micro-cap stocks, which are basically anything under $1 billion and what's a market cap? Yeah.
Sure.
And so basically we want to focus on companies that we think we can do a lot more research on that some of the larger players aren't going to be looking at. So like a Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, we're looking at a lot more smaller companies.
Is that a competitive space on the street or across America? Is there a lot of focus on those micro caps?
There's not as much focus on the micro caps just because it doesn't make sense for a firm like Goldman to be putting a small check in a company where they're not going to make that much return on. So they're going to be looking to invest in the Apples, the Amazons, the Facebooks, and we're looking at companies that you've never even heard of. And so that gives us a competitive advantage because we can actually call these companies, and we can actually go into, we can actually do a little bit more in-depth research, and these companies are actually going to pick up to us because they don't have that many people calling them.
Sure.
What sector do those companies skew towards right now?
I would really say any sector. A lot of the stuff that we look at are sort of consumer companies because they're a little bit easier to understand, especially for college students who are just learning finance. But they really vary into any sector, and so we have done a lot of research into consumer, healthcare, industrials, sort of all broadly.
How's the portfolio doing?
Yeah, so we actually are making our first investment hopefully coming up this weekend. So we have a big conference coming up in New York. We're going to be at Bank of America on Friday, and then Morgan Stanley on Saturday. And then the winner of the stock pitch competition at that conference, we're going to make an investment in that company.
Oh, okay.
So very exciting.
Very exciting indeed. All right, 2019 National Fall Conference, New York City, Friday, Saturday. But we'll be waiting to see who the winner is, so we know where your money and your capital is going.
Absolutely.
As well. Such a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you guys so much.